He said publicly
1.5%
he wants to use
inflation.
the military to go after the enemy within, which is the American people.
He did not say that, Jake.
The enemy
he
within?
said that he was going to send the military after the American people. Show me the quote where he said
he was going to. He said the enemy within.
He said far-left lunatics. He's talking
like
about
the
people
Pelosi's
rioting.
And Schiff.
He's talking about people rioting after the election. I think
the Pelosi's were rioting after the election.
He said
Adam Schiff was rioting after the election.
You're using two separate phrases. He said about using the military that far-left lunatics, people who riot in the wake of an election, people who burn down American cities in the summer of 2020, yes, we should have a federal law enforcement
This is what
response.
he said to Joe Rogan on Friday. The enemy within that he wants the military to go after.
No, this is
the enemy within a bigger problem than Kim Jong-un.
The second part.
We have people that are really bad people that I really think want to make this country unsuccessful. That's who the enemy within.
And did he say that he wants to use the military against those people?
Here's the game. Use the military to go after the enemy within.
Here's the game that you're playing. He said that
playing a game.
No.
Over the past month, Vice President Kamala Harris has appeared alongside one political surrogate, perhaps more than any other, a conservative former Republican lawmaker, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney of Wyoming, who joins us. Now, Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us. We have a lot to get to. But first, I just want to give you a chance to respond to what you heard from Senator Vance, since he invoked you so many times, even though I never mentioned your name once.
This country.
We're the enemy within.
We're
the enemy within. He said they were the enemy within.
So every time he uses the exact same phrase, we assume that he uses
I don't know.
military?
I don't throw around the term of enemy within to talk about using the military against going American people.
And you're asking his vice president, but you won't let me answer the question. I'm telling you that Donald Trump has said, and I agree with him, that we should use the U.S. military to go after
Americans.
People who riot, who burn down our cities.
And this was what John Kelly was.
The National Guard.
This was what John Kelly was alarmed by. The idea of using the U.S. military to go after Americans. That's what he said.
Donald Trump never said Americans writ large. You keep on putting words in his mouth and my mouth.
Are they or are they not Americans?
Far left people who commit acts of violence, who riot. And
now you're doing a very narrow definition of what he said, which is not what he said. That's not what he said. But let me ask you. Let me ask you the bigger point.
He did say that, Jake. He did. He said that he wanted to use the U.S. military. Let me clarify.
To go after far left lunatics, yes. And then he also added
people who were rioting and looting.
And
he never said.
He added Schiff. And then he added the Pelosi's. And then he added people that don't want the country to succeed.
He said that Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi he used in a separate context and a separate conversation. And what you're doing is you're smashing two totally different conversations.
Fox asked him about this last week, and he didn't take issue with it. He said the enemy within is the biggest threat to this country.
But did he say the enemy within, that he's going to use the military against Nancy Pelosi? Donald Trump offered Nancy Pelosi the National Guard on January the 6th, and according to private emails, she rejected it.
So let's talk about things that he wants to do that are feeding into this concern that people like John Kelly and General Mattis and General Milley have. He said on Friday, Special Counsel Jack Smith should get thrown out of the country. He's threatened to arrest election officials who cheated. We know that he believes a lot of people cheated that did not cheat.
And his argument, as you heard there, was that all of the Trump administration officials that I mentioned, from Vice President Pence to General Milley to General Mattis to General McMaster to Alyssa Farah, Griffin to, I mean, on and on and on, that every one of them opposes Trump because they want to involve the United States into foreign wars. And that was where he said absolutely when I said, is that really what you're saying? Is that really your argument? What did you make of that?
I'm talking about things that Donald Trump has said.
Yes.
If you have an issue with whether or not he's talking about the economy enough, that's between you and your running mate. I'm talking about things he has said this week.
Every single rally that he does, he talks about how he wants to unleash American energy so we can lower the cost of groceries. He talks about the fact that housing has become unaffordable. He talks about the wide open border, Jake. Kamala Harris and her allies, you know, it's interesting. Kamala Harris and her media allies, and I would put CNN in this category. You guys,
they wouldn't.
You guys seem to care.
I'll tell you that they wouldn't.
Well, they should watch your network more because you guys seem to care more about Donald Trump's past than the future of the American people. We're running this campaign on making the American dream.
I'm specifically
affordable.
asking about how Donald Trump is going to be president in the future should he win. And then we're being told
He's going to pursue economic policies that lower the cost of groceries and make life more affordable again. He talks about it every single day on the campaign trail, and so do I. What you're talking about is an anonymously sourced story, or one guy
Nothing anonymously sourced.
or who
Zero
one guy who was a disgruntled employee.
I told
where
you 10
five other
10
people
people.
pushed back against him and said that what he said was dishonest. So why don't we talk about the policy that's affecting American citizens and not what Donald Trump allegedly said, according to one guy who's pissed off because he got fired by Donald Trump?
I didn't bring up any of the things that he said. He said I didn't bring up.
Brought up John Kelly, and that I just described.
I brought
him
up John
perfectly.
Kelly's view of Donald Trump. I didn't bring up John Kelly talking about what Donald Trump said about Hitler's generals. I didn't bring that up. I talked about John Kelly's view of Trump based on something Trump has been saying in the last week. So that's what I asked about.
So John
You mentioned how you certainly don't agree with Kamala Harris on every issue, or even most issues, in terms of the traditional political debates of domestic politics. Let's talk about abortion, which is a big issue in this race. You are against abortion. You're pro-life. You supported Roe v. Wade being overturned in 2022. Last week at an event with Kamala Harris, you said you were deeply troubled by what you've watched happen in many Republican-led states since the Dobbs decision in terms of the bans that the legislatures have put into place. Can you explain your view on this further?
So all those 10 people, including the former vice president, Mike Pence, all of these people have this horribly damaged worldview, and they're all just going after Donald Trump because they want to send people into war? That's really your argument?
Absolutely.
It's not like these are conservative.
Absolutely, that's my
These
argument.
are not
Jake,
conservative
all of
Republicans.
people,
These aren't
all
conservative
of these
Republicans
people,
who are
Jake,
concerned about Donald Trump.
All of
They're not.
these,
That's
all
not
of
right.
These, all of these people, Jake, they came into office thinking that they could control Donald Trump. That when he said he wanted peace in the
Mike
world,
Pence thought he could control Donald
yes,
Trump?
he did. And when he found out that
Really?
when he found